welcome to another week's analysis behind the news. I don't know how the week's news can get much bigger than it was last week. From the FBI reopening the investigation of Hillary's emails to the not guilty verdict for the first 7 defendants of the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge case, the news seems to be a bright spot for constitutionalists for once. So let's dive right in. Here we are just within a week of the presidential election, and the FBI director James Comey, an Obama appointee of all people, decides to drop his own October surprise. Now being attacked by the Clinton campaign and other Democrats, including Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, who said the FBI is violating the Hatch Act, Comey is finding few friends. Trump has speculated that Comey was in the middle of facing a huge internal backlash due to his original decision to not recommend prosecuting Hillary, and that this finding of emails on disgraced former Representative Anthony Weiner's laptop provides an opportunity to stem the avalanche of resignations and staff challenges. Unlike many of the other Clinton scandals, it's making such big news headlines that Hillary is starting to revert back to her excuse of a vast right-wing conspiracy that she first used in the 1990s regarding the forces seeking to impeach her husband, of which the John Birch Society can receive much of the credit for starting. Over the weekend, the Chicago Tribune seemed to be the first to suggest in an opinion column that Hillary needs to step aside and let her running mate move forward. Though this isn't going to happen, let's take a look at what happens if Hillary does win. The Christian Times newspaper reported that intelligence briefings to Hillary are now suspended indefinitely because she's a candidate. And the Chicago Tribune article author wrote, "If you take a step back from tribal politics, you'll see that Mrs. Clinton has clearly disqualified herself from ever coming near classified information again. If she were a young person straight out of grad school hoping to land a government job, Hillary Clinton would be laughed right out of Washington with her record. She'd never be hired." So if she was elected, how in the world would she be able to pass security clearance? Or perhaps that wouldn't apply to her since she is held to a much different standard than the rest of us peons. And if she was elected and under investigation or in the process of being prosecuted, would she be impeached? After all, in the Constitution, Article 2, Section 4 claims, "The President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors." And as her husband demonstrated, lying under oath certainly falls into this category. The Constitution states that the U.S. House of Representatives has the sole power of impeachment. If the House impeaches a President Hillary, then the Senate is constitutionally bound to try the impeachment. The Senate would then conduct impeachment proceedings with the Chief U.S. Supreme Court Justice presiding. 2/3 of the Senate must agree to convict or it will end in acquittal, as happened in the 1999 trial of President Bill Clinton. Now think about that. Hillary could be making more history than just the first woman president. Hey, she and Bill could be the first husband-wife team to be impeached. But much like in 1999, senators would mostly rally around the party, and the Senate probably would not have the numbers to convict. So from a Birch perspective, we have nonstop work with another Clinton presidency. But we also would have plenty of work to do in a Trump presidency, given his speech mentions on creating a stronger alliance with police on a federal level, his promotion of term limits, and his towing of the party line of repealing and replacing Obamacare. Not that we're for Obamacare, but we certainly wouldn't replace it with another government program. We'd rather let the free market offer the incentives and solutions to customers. So this next week will be very interesting. Watch how Hillary and her cohorts in the news once again rise in defense by blaming everyone else. Will there be a big implosion? And what if she gets in? What kind of constitutional crisis will she create? We will all soon find out. In a huge blow to overzealous federal agencies and their war on the Western property owner, the first 7 defendants in the Malheur Refuge takeover were found not guilty on all counts by a jury. Of course, Those of us in the Liberty Movement immediately thought that jury nullification must have had to do something with it. Jury nullification is a tool of the jury to find the defendants not guilty based on an unrighteous law, if you will. However, in this case, it appears that the federal prosecution bit off more than it could chew. It had grandiose plans of convicting these folks based on conspiracy charges to send a clear message that the federal government was well within its rights and would not be deterred from its mission to shut down these ranchers. However, the prosecution just could not prove its case. So while these first 7 folks were acquitted, what happens to the next 7? Will the federal prosecutors change their tactic in order to get some convictions? We'll find out early next year. In the meantime, it certainly doesn't bring back Lavoy Finicum, and it doesn't erase all of the wrongs that have happened to landowners, as well as all the future reverberations that will continue in the years to come. Even though the Bundys were acquitted in Oregon, they still face charges stemming back to their involvement in 2014 in Nevada with the incident on their family ranch. Unfortunately, government is like an elephant. It never forgets, especially when it has an agenda to accomplish. And speaking of agenda, stop over at jbs.org to learn more about our agenda to protect American liberties and the independence of this country. If you like what we do, then be sure to share this video with your family and friends. Until next week, we'll see you then.